Souls-likes and action RPGs come and go, and as the Summer of Gaming showcased, there are plenty of new titles in both genres to tide fans over for a long time. Wuchang Fallen Feathers by Leenzee Games is the most imminent, launching on July 24th for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. From its announcement in September of 2021 to now, and a subsequent jump to Unreal Engine 5 later, it's shaping up into something special. The question is, how does it compare to Black Myth: Wukong, which also dabbles in action RPG and Souls-like mechanics? Let's find out by comparing their 15 biggest differences. Settings. Despite both titles employing some fantasy elements, their settings differ significantly. Wuchang Fallen Feathers unfolds in the Land of Shu, a real ancient kingdom that eventually became the Sichuan province. It was during the late Ming Dynasty, which enjoyed a significant ruling period from 1368 to 1644, but eventually collapsed. This isn't to say that Wuchang is historically accurate. Some historical figures appear, but the setting diverges from the real-world Shu. Black Myth: Wukong, meanwhile, is based on the novel Journey to the West. All of its locations, from Blackwind Mountain to Yellowwind Ridge and the Flaming Mountains, are fictitious. Still beautiful, though. Weapon types. Wukong's trusty weapon throughout Black Myth is the staff. There's plenty of variety in the 21 different options, especially since the majority have unique skills that either enhance your stats or stances and techniques and combos, or create lava bursts, spines that hit nearby foes, and so on. Wuchang has multiple weapon types, from spears and clubs to two-handed swords and even a flamethrower. There are 25 unique weapons in total, each with unique skills, including a sick counter where Wuchang jumps back and tosses a spear at an enemy. Stances versus weapon switching. Despite the lack of different weapon types, Black Myth: Wukong offers 3 stances, each with unique functions that you can switch between at any time. If you played a decent amount of Wolong Fallen Dynasty, you'll notice that Wuchang employs the same lack of stances. However, you can switch between 2 equipped weapons, which results in different effects. Parries, counters, and dodges. Wukong is notable for not having a dedicated parry button, instead asking players to focus on perfect dodges, which restores focus on top of other benefits. You eventually unlock options to counterattack, namely with Smash Stance's Resolute Counterflow and Thrust Stance's Lucky Strike, but these must be unlocked. Wuchang is also heavily reliant on dodging, and while you can parry, it's weapon-specific and even must be unlocked on certain types. Not all weapons can block either, but you can ignore both defensive options and beat the game by just dodging, even if it's not recommended. Skyborn Might vs. Ki and Focus. While Wukong has Focus and Ki, the latter required for using spirits and transformations, Wuchang relies on Skyborn Might. It's accrued in much the same way as Focus, by performing a perfect dodge known as a shimmer against enemy attacks, and spent to enhance the weapon's skills and charge strikes. Spellcasting. Wuchang also offers 40 different spells with no restrictions, at least based on the gameplay and impressions. You can equip 4 at a time and integrate them into your combos as you please. Wukong only offers 6 default spells, grouped under Mysticism, Strand, and Alteration, and you can equip 1 of each type. However, you also have Transformations and Spirits, which both require Ki. Transformations vs. Madness. Transformations in Wukong each have different kinds of attacks and abilities, and though they consume Ki like spirits, they have a separate meter that indicates their duration. In Wuchang, there's Madness. If you take damage or even die, Wuchang will be afflicted with the Feathering Disease Madness, which increases damage dealt but also damage received. You can increase it further by slaying human foes, and at higher levels, new abilities and weapon skills become available. The biggest trade-off of Madness, however, is that dying at higher levels will spawn an inner demon. It guards your dropped currency and must be defeated to get it back. though it also attacks nearby enemies, which can be used to your advantage. If you're feeling especially confident, Wuchang can also use items to raise her madness, and there are even madness-focused options in the skill tree. Skill trees. Wukong offers multiple paths of progression: foundation for improving your stamina, survival and martial arts, various upgrades for the 3 staff stances, mysticism, alteration, and strand for improving various spells, and transformations where you can improve the talents for different alteration spells. By comparison, Wuchang dumps everything into one massive skill tree, including skills, stat upgrades, and more. 505 Games brand community manager Steven Tukowski told the Iron Lords podcast at Summer Games Fest that it's not quite Path of Exile 2 in terms of scale, but it's certainly up there. Fortunately, like Wukong, respeccing in Wuchang is free. Build crafting. Both games approach build crafting in slightly different ways. While Wukong has spirits, transformations, and different stances that you can choose to focus on, the core playstyle is still heavily reliant on melee combat with a single weapon type. Wuchang lets you mix and match weapon types to create different combos and throw in a few spells if you please. However, if you want to focus purely on melee combat or spellcasting, you have that freedom. Seamlessly interconnected versus separate regions. Those starved for a Dark Souls 1-like world that's seamlessly interconnected may get a kick out of Wuchang. Paying attention to landmarks and discovering shortcuts is emphasized over simply checking the map. In Tech Radar's preview, Jia said the team wanted a hub-based exploration system that allowed players to traverse the same areas from multiple directions to create varied experiences for different playstyles. This would certainly tie into the non-linear order of tackling bosses. Wukong, on the other hand, doesn't seamlessly connect the regions across its various chapters. However, you can fast travel back to previously cleared regions, and there are secret areas in each. Open-ended versus non-linear. While progressing through Wukong's story chapters involves defeating its main bosses in a predetermined order, you can veer off the beaten path and tackle optional threats whenever you please. Secret areas await to be discovered, some with multiple bosses that may overwhelm you. In Wuchang Fallen Feathers, however, the story promises a non-linear experience, per Tukowski in an official preview video. It's up to the player which bosses they will tackle first, though it's unknown how this affects the overall flow of the plot. Multiplayer. Wukong is a primarily solo experience. Yes, some NPCs may aid during specific side quests, but for the most part, it's you versus the world. Wuchang is similar in that some decisions may cause NPCs to provide help at certain moments, but it also supports multiplayer. Leenzee hasn't outlined those features and whether they're the asynchronous spirits of souls like Past or full-on cooperators, but it's still intriguing. Playtime. Meaty is a good way to describe Black Myth Wukong, as finishing the story takes about 38 hours on average and 48 hours while pursuing side content, according to how long to beat. However, completionists will require at least 67 hours for everything. Wuchang is no slouch though, requiring about 40 to 60 hours for an average playthrough. Granted, we won't know until experiencing it ourselves if that's only the story or includes some or all side content, and so on, but it's a lengthy experience regardless. Number of endings. Depending on how thoroughly the side content in Wukong is completed, you can unlock the true ending to go along with the default. Wuchang also has multiple endings, but more than 3, which are completely different and offer completely different fates, implying some are less fortunate than others. Nevertheless, the approach is seemingly more Dark Souls-like, where, depending on the side quest completed, you can opt for different outcomes. While you could run through and kill everything while dismissing all narrative threads, as game director Shuyan Jia highlighted in Tech Radar's preview, you still have to face the consequences. Price differences. Finally, perhaps the most notable difference is that Black Myth Wukong costs $60, while Wuchang Fallen Feathers is $50. The latter also has the distinction of being available on Game Pass. Try or beat before you really buy. Hey, did you know that we at Gaming Vault upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.